Do you remember where you were and what you were doing the first time someone you love told you, "I love you"? You do, right? Ever wonder why you remember so many details about that day, whether you were 6 or 16 or 26? Because it was a highly emotionally charged event, an event that got seared into your memory. If you're wondering what that has to do with branding, I'll get right to it. Today we're speaking about creating stories and situations that have an emotional impact on your ideal audience, which can create the kind of emotional connection that transforms potential customers into loyal customers. When you're able to deliver your message in a way that gets an emotional response, you're most likely to gain their attention. When you deliver a message in a way that they won't want to forget, they won't. They will repeat it often to themselves, their friends, and incorporate it into their identity because it becomes that important to them. These are the stories that are getting your customers to make an emotional investment into your brand, giving them the incentive to stay with your brand. We're capturing their imagination. We're getting a strong response. It could be shock, amazement, delight, wonder, love, disgust. We use images, situations, experiences, stories to get an emotional response and make the sort of impact that engages the emotions and makes it all moving and memorable. Your brand message must appeal to the emotional state, needs, and aspirations of your ideal individuals. Let me illustrate what I'm talking about. Have you seen that video of Bill Gates where he is releasing a bunch of malaria mosquitoes into a huge audience to make his point? If you've ever watched the video, you definitely remember it. Why? Because the message that Bill Gates sent out via that speech was emotional. Emotional equals memorable. It startled, it informed, it caught the attention, it snagged people's emotions from whatever they were feeling before and micro-focused them, hyper-focused them on those mosquitoes, right? Bill Gates is speaking to create that awareness about malaria, how it still kills about 1 million people worldwide each year, and how about 200 million people suffer from mosquito-borne disease at any given time on the planet. To first snag attention, he rattled off these scary stats, and they're pretty scary, and then gives this context by speaking about how there's more money spent on baldness than malaria. By juxtaposing the relatively trivial with the life-threatening, he shocks us and creates a sense of urgency. He then opens up a jar of what he says are malaria mosquitoes and lets them spread around the auditorium. There's no reason only poor people should have this experience, he says. Good line. Now this is shocking because here is this guy who seems willing to infect people with the disease to send out his message, and he's definitely getting everyone's attention. Gates quickly clarifies that those mosquitoes are not infected, and everyone has a laugh, really to release some tension, I'm sure. One of those laughs like, I knew you weren't trying to just kill me, but for a second there, I thought you went off the deep end. By now, though, those people in the audience, as well as the millions and millions who have viewed this video on YouTube, realize how serious of an issue malaria is for much of the world, and they are left remembering this. It now matters to them personally, viscerally, that the Gates Foundation works to support this and other causes around the world. When you bring awareness to emotion, when you align that, you bring power to your life, to the lives of your ideal individuals. You know how they say the mind always remembers everything about certain significant events? We remember our first love, our first I love you, or our first I don't love you, like it happened yesterday. You probably remember exactly how warm or cold it was on that day you got married, or exactly how you felt as you got dressed up to go to your best friend's wedding. And maybe no other apple pie was ever as able to replicate the precise taste of your mother's apple pie. In other words, to be memorable, you have to be powerful. And to be powerful, you have to evoke emotions through our senses. So if you don't remember where you put your keys today, but remember what you wore and ate on your child's first birthday almost 2 decades ago, it's because your keys don't evoke an emotional response out of you. The brain remembers the emotional components of an experience better than any other aspect, says molecular biologist John Medina. To create that emotional connect, seek to get inside your customers' hearts more than their heads. An emotionally charged event like that one, or an emotionally charged message, will linger longer in our memories and will be recalled more frequently with greater accuracy than neutral memories. This is a fact that psychologists agree on. What are sometimes referred to as flashbulb memories, clear and precise. Our brains are wired to respond more strongly to emotionally charged events. When our emotions are engaged, we're less likely to be distracted and we concentrate fully. When Bill Gates spoke about malaria for 18 minutes, most viewers, that mosquito jar opening, you could die from this today moment, was the memory. Right? Similarly, you want to drive home that point in the most jaw-dropping way. You want your customers to remember exactly the point as the first thing they think of about when they think or speak about your brand to their friends and family. Right? We get 50 times more likely to buy from word-of-mouth advertising. So you want to make that indelible mark. Aim to create that wow moment for your ideal audiences with your personal message. And you can do that in 3 ways. Catch their attention with facts, figures, maybe some unknown shocking statistics. They say that the intellect can be confused, but emotions never lie. Now, this old adage is true. But to do it right, you want to engage both the mind and the heart. Humans are emotional beings, so you want to make an emotional appeal. But you also want to cement that appeal with facts and logic that appeal to the cerebral side of the human nature to make your brand message most persuasive. Solid facts will always arrest their attention. So when Bill Gates spoke about the millions of deaths and said that human beings spend more on baldness cures than on malaria, this snagged the attention of everyone. He then created a flutter, literally, of apprehension, a huge emotion, apprehension, by releasing these supposedly malaria-infected mosquitoes. The combination of the fact and emotion got the attention of every single person in the room and made an unforgettable impression. Now, if you wanted to get people to have an emotion attached to the deaths that are going on all across the planet with an emotion, Bill Gates selected that right one, that flutter, that fear of what might be coming. Perfect alignment of message and emotion. Similarly, when Robert Ballard, retired naval officer and oceanography professor, says, "Why are we ignoring the oceans?" If you compare NASA's annual budget to explore the universe, that one-year budget would fund NOAA's budget to explore the ocean, forget this, 1,600 years. These facts and figures are highly persuasive. They shock, right? They quickly frame the argument he's trying to make, the point he's trying to get across. Powerful stuff. The next way we can do this is we can use a great headline, a concise way to send out a big idea. This headline should be pithy, catchy, and memorable, quickly recalled and tripping off the tongue without effort. When your message is useful, a useful message is also interesting, it becomes shareable. And then it takes on a life of its own. In social media, your message needs to be shareable. And to be shareable, it needs to be short and catchy. Thirdly, let your headline, your big opener, lead your audience into a story of a very personal nature, personal to them. Offer some special insight. Tell a story that is enlightening, entertaining, and of course, emotional. Consider how Steve Jobs, who is responsible for some of the most eye-catching, memorable marketing events ever, did it. He owned the ability to create that wow moment. His product launches and other events were simply dazzling. And this is a tradition that Apple follows to this day. The events tell a story with characters, plot lines, props, and a showstopper that leaves an indelible imprint in the mind in the end. It's all such an entertaining and enthralling spectacle that the audience cannot help but get drawn in, be moved and excited by something that will truly stick in their hearts. The emotional connect that Apple succeeds in creating with its customers is a vital reason why Apple loyalists will stay with that brand no matter what. Do this for your brand story today. What is the one thing that you want your customers to recall to mind when they think of your brand? That should be your message. Plan your message in much the same way that a scriptwriter writes a screenplay. Make your message authentic by choosing a story that is emotionally relevant for your ideal individuals. Hook them right at the beginning with the facts that surprise but also inform them. And remember, keep them engaged and try to involve as many of your audience's senses as you can. Visual, audio, touch, taste, smell. Let's see, those mosquitoes were visual. Audio, definitely touch, just telling the story. I was trying not to touch my face. Sound, I said audio. Not taste, I hope. And not smell, I hope. But make it entertaining, engaging, and informative. But make it something that is sure to get an emotional reaction. And not just any emotion. Aim for bonding, love, shock, nostalgia, even disgust if required. Creates bonding, creates the emotional ability to get someone over an obstacle, to transform. Write down your brand story and get it out into your ideal individuals. Shock them, shake them out of their stupor, challenge their senses. Whatever you do, evoke an emotion and be memorable, because the only thing worse than not succeeding is being forgotten. Thank you for joining me today to kick off an emotional journey into your brand messaging. You can connect best if you get into their heads and their hearts. Don't miss out on how you can use emotion to be the one brand message out of the 5,000 a day that we see that moves them emotionally. Emotional equals memorable. And as always, the most organic way to master putting the power of emotion into your copy is to love what you do and love how you do it. Thanks for watching. Don't miss out on a single thing. Subscribe below. And here's something else I think you'll love.